Hello, everyone. This is
Hi.
Roomies Reviews and Movies. I am Lindsay. This is Maria, and we are old college roommates. And Maria has been doing reviews on movies for like the past 20 years. I also have a film degree, and we are here today to review um, 2023's If I Can't. It's a movie that is currently on Tubi. It stars, let me pull it up. Believe her name is Marie Monroe. She's also the producer. Minna Monroe, excuse me. She's also the producer on the film as well. And it also stars Crystal the Doll, Tristan Vazikas, Sierra Smith, and more. So I actually have the trailer for the movie, so I'm gonna play that trailer and then we'll come back to continue. So one moment.
It's crazy how your whole life can change within a blink of an eye. Trust no one.
Girl, that ain't nobody but Scott. But that fine motherfucker right there, bitch, that's the weed man. Everybody know him.
Surprise.
You sound like a whole fool. I've been dealing with real life issues for these past 2 years. And we ain't. You need to go see our friend while you still can. But a real friend would have known he was fucked up.
And this is just a small token of my appreciation.
Now you know what I'm about to say. Ain't no amount of money worth no peace of mind, Harlem. That boy is crazy.
You think everything about you.
I'll get your ass locked up.
Bitch. Cause if I can't have you, nobody can.
All right. So that was the trailer for the movie If I Can't. And so basically, um, the movie starts out with the character Harlem. And Harlem just had a baby. She's married. And from what has been presented to us is that her husband is a working man who does a regular 9 to 5, and she's a stay-at-home mom. She like just had the baby, so the baby is like maybe a couple of weeks old. So it seems like they're living a pretty good life. They're very much in love, and um, he takes her on a drive and then ends up going to this open house for this house that she has been in love with since she was young. Come to find out, he didn't already bought the house, um, and then they end up moving in, and they go for a drive one night, and he's going into a store, and so he comes back out, and when he comes back out, he ends up getting robbed. So in the midst of him being robbed, he's shot and killed.
Yep.
So
And
with
his
him,
blood lands all over Harlem and their new baby.
yes, yes, the blood is all over them. As soon as he's shot, and then we have another scene where the blood is no longer on her. So Then she's very, rightfully so, she's very traumatized. She no longer wants to stay in the house. She goes she goes to move back in with her mom, her and her baby and whatnot. And so they pretty much do a small montage to go over the first year of the kid's life, and then we end up at the kid's first birthday party. And so at the kid's first birthday party, she's out of it. She's pretty much been out of it this past year, obviously, because I mean she's traumatized. And so
Yeah, I
while
think
she's
it's 9 months later, and I guess the baby was 3 months old when this happened or something.
yes, yes. So yeah, she's outside on the front porch while everybody's inside at the birthday party, and her friend Lolo pulls up. And this friend, presumably, she hasn't seen in some years, but the mom invited her to the party,
Mom
and
has got to stop inviting people to parties.
I agree. I agree. So yes, the mom invited her to the party. So she comes up with a gift, but she doesn't come in. Her and Harlem have a conversation outside. So in this couple of second conversation, they catch up. She gives her gift, and she pretty much goes on her way. She says she doesn't do kids, so she was just coming by to give the gift and go on her way. So we also find out that Lolo is a hairstylist, and she wants to do Harlem's hair because Harlem looks like she's been through it the past year and doesn't really care about what her hair looks like. So,
Even though she has on a nice wig.
right, right, with the band around her wig. But, we are to believe
Right.
that that she's not up to par. So Lolo offers her services and offers them the next day. So the next day, um, even though Harlem has been living with her mom this whole time, she still has the house that her husband bought her. So the next day, she goes to the house to meet the realtor to sign over the paperwork for selling the house. And she take after she does that, she takes the money to the bank, and the bank is looking at her crazy because she's coming in with these big old checks, and they let her know like, hey, we have to wait about 7 to 10 days to clear these checks.
Yeah, because apparently she doesn't have a bank account with them, which I was like, why did you even go there then? Like, why not
It
go to your own bank?
it seemed to me that she went to the banks that the checks were
Yeah.
written from. She probably did that thinking that you can just cash them, but over a certain amount you can't do that. So they do have to wait for them to clear. So she takes the bus over to the girl Lolo's hair salon, and so at the hair salon, um, she's waiting outside because nobody's there, and this guy in this old school drop top pulls up with a girl in the car, and they get out the car trying to go into the salon and find out that the salon is closed, and the girl that he's with, hair definitely needs to be done. Looks
Yeah.
like it hadn't been done in quite a while.
Yeah. She actually needed help.
Yeah, she definitely needed her wig touched up. So it's not happening. So she's upset, and right in front of the girl that this guy is with, he goes over to Harlem and flirts. Tells because Harlem's outside smoking, so he tells Harlem, "Hey, it's bad for your health." So at this point, we don't know who this man is. We don't know who the girl is to him.
Mm-mm.
I assumed that he was a pimp and this was his prostitute.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. Who did you assume it was?
No idea. Because, like, again, they did not establish who he was or what their relationship to each other was,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
which would have been my very first question. Like, who are you and who is she? Why are you talking to me? Like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're flirting with me right in front of her. So that's what made me be like, okay, they cannot possibly be an item.
Right.
Um, because she legit did nothing.
And I'm
So
not trying to get jumped behind you, like, whatever. So,
yeah, yeah. So that was weird. But then they end up leaving. So after they left, Lolo pulls up and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was late." Blah
she's
blah
super
blah.
late. For
Yeah,
Like, girl,
I
you
would
offered. How are you going to be this late?
right, right. I would have probably left by then, but I mean,
And she
she
was riding the bus, so.
she's riding the bus, so yeah, she wouldn't have been far on foot. So Harlem tells Lolo, "Hey, my money is tied up. I was just coming to tell you that I won't be able to get my hair done because I can't pay you." Harlem then is like, "Your money is what I did not ask for. This is free." So she Harlem ends up sitting down, and soon as she's about to start, that's when the guy comes back with the girl. And that's when he's introduced to us because he's at the door knocking. And Harlem's like, "Who's that?" Lolo says, "That's Scott. He's basically the weed man."
Mm-hmm.
So then he comes in with the girl, and this is a Monday. So, like, normally
Salons are
hair
usually
salons
closed.
are closed.
Right.
So he comes in and he's just like, "I need you to do my girl's hair, blah, 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 blah." She's like, "Yeah, no, I'm closed." So they have a back and forth. Scott pulls out a big wad of money to pay for this service. So Harlem is like, "I'm gonna let her have my seat and let you get your money." So he gives her a nice little amount of money to do his girl's hair. She doesn't, and then Harlem gets back in the seat. And before Harlem gets back in the seat, when she goes sits down, Scott goes to sit next to her, and they have a little back and forth. And then
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, he gives her a
A lot
nice
of
stack of money.
right.
So I'm assuming he was gonna pay for her hair too since she got up. Because it's never explained why
He's giving her this
exactly
money.
he's giving her this money. Yeah, he's just giving a stranger this money. So like I said, my assumption is that because she gave up the seat, that he's gonna pay for her hair too.
Do not accept money from strange men.
Yeah, I mean you're inviting. It's like a
It's just not a good idea.
yeah, it's like a vampire when you invite them in your house, you know. so so yeah, they she accepts the money or whatnot, and then she gets back into the chair, gets her hair done. And then which is weird, which another thing that's weird to me about this movie is that even though they're supposed to be closed, the makeup artist is there.
Yeah. I
So
guess he didn't have anything else to do that day.
I guess not. So and he's just there. He doesn't have a
Client.
client at all, but he's just there. So yeah. After her hair is done or whatever, then we get a little monologue from him. And it's a cute little monologue, but it didn't have anything to do with the plot or anything.
No.
But next thing you know, they're in a club. I can't tell if it's a gay or a straight club,
It's a
but
gay club.
you can tell that it was a gay club.
Yeah.
Um,
First of all, you have the monologue leading into, because Miss Jamel Bagari,
yeah.
right? And then she has her whole costume change with her long blonde wig and everything. And you've got women kissing each other, and the drinks are all set up in the rainbow. It's a gay club.
Um, I just looked at it like it was a regular club, like because those things happen in regular clubs
Well,
too.
then her friend is also like, "Is this too much for you? Whatever." Because it's like her first time. So and they talk
Yeah.
about later how she had only been to a gay club. So it's a gay club.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess it wasn't evident to me
Well,
because
yeah. I mean,
just
these are all context clues. So it's not like they said
yeah
they did not even give a name to the club. So.
yeah yeah. So yeah. So hey, they're in a gay club now, and she's having a good time or whatnot, and so this kind of gets her loosened up to come back out in the world more. So then they have another outing where I guess that this time it's a straight club because this guy, while Harlem's at the bar waiting for service, this guy comes up to her and he is like super aggressive.
Hmm.
And at first, it wasn't bad enough to where she had to check him. She was speaking with him, being cordial,
It
but then
was to me because the first thing he did was make fun of her name and then say, "Well, I didn't ask to know all that." Okay, we can get out of my face.
yeah. Yeah, but I was talking in reference to her because she was still being cordial with him,
Yeah, yeah. She
So,
was she was trying to like let him down easy and get him to go away. But
hmm
the thing is,
yeah,
with folks like that, that's not gonna happen.
no, no, because it progressively got worse,
Yeah.
and he's grabbing her and all type of stuff, and he was being mad disrespectful,
Hmm. Calling her out
and
her name and all everything.
yeah, yeah, and trying to get her to leave with him,
Like
and
why after you did that? Like why would I leave with you?
right, right, after getting a drink, and I ain't even sipped on the drink yet, and you're talking about leaving with you. Yeah, that was, I mean, it does happen, don't get me wrong, but it was weird the way it happened in this scene cuz I've never experienced nor seen it happen that fast. So, they at least let you sip on your drink before they
Oh no, I mean the disrespect. That's
Yeah, yeah, before they get disrespectful, they at least let you sip on the drink.
nah.
But yeah, so in the midst of this exchange with this rude guy, Scott intervenes, pretty much saving her from the weirdo, and he goes on about his business. The weirdo does,
Hmm.
and
Because
so
like a lot of dudes are like that. When a man stands up and says, "Hey, how about you stop?" They'll actually listen.
right, right. So yeah, so the weirdo goes on about his business, and now Scott is taking the place of the weirdo and pushing up on her, but she likes him pushing up on her, and so
Because he's
they
not
ended
mad
up
aggressive about it. Although
no,
honestly, for me, there were red flag. Trigger warning for this movie, like sexual assault, abuse, murder of a child. Like,
yeah, it was a lot
yeah,
going on, a whole lot going on.
but yeah, he kind of steps in like a white knight, you know,
Yeah,
and then they have the rest of their evening in the club.
yeah, yeah, and they're getting along and whatnot, and then there's a shooting in the club. So with the shooting in the club,
The night is over.
yeah, the night is over. Her and her friend get separated, and she ends up going with Scott. Scott takes her home, and they have an exchange, and they start bonding and whatnot. while they're at home. I mean, while they're in her driveway at home. Um, and so, but they don't exchange phone numbers or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they do click. They have a rapport. So so Harlem ends up getting a job at Lolo's salon as her assistant. So she goes to work, and while she's at work, Scott just pops up.
He
And
pops up with like 2 dozen roses or something.
yes, yes, with flowers and excuse me, ask her on a date. And so with asking her on a date, they go out and they have a good time, and then they end up smashing.
Yeah, it was when he showed up with the flowers to me where I was like, this feels like love bombing. So,
Yeah.
love bombing is when you have someone who's an abuser or manipulator, is like does everything to make you feel like the most special person, and they're just super romantic, and it's really really soon, like because they just met
Hmm.
each other like the night before, and he's already bringing her 2 dozen roses. I
Yeah.
don't really know you at all.
Right.
Like, how
Right.
would you
Right.
know I would even be at the salon? Like,
Right. Right.
and
And just
and
randomly popping up
right,
because the first time he saw her at the salon, she was a customer. So
right.
how would he know that she's there? Like they never had a conversation about her having a job there now, you know. And then he knew where she stayed, so why would he go to the salon at this point, you know? You know, things, things that you have questions about that aren't necessarily answered. That's gonna happen often in this film.
Yeah,
So
because her baby seems to change gender and name depending on who's talking about the baby. At
mhm.
one point, she refers to the baby as a girl, then her mother refers to the baby as a boy. And then at one point, she calls the baby Stephen, but it appears the baby's name is Emery, which is also the same name as the husband who was murdered. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, um,
I don't know how that could not be kept straight.
yeah, yeah. It was like maybe that they didn't catch that until post, and they didn't have a shot, a good shot. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
It should be in the script what the baby's name is.
You are absolutely correct. Like that particular mess up shouldn't have been.
It's just
And
weird because it's not like
should
the
have been
baby is a complicated character. You just have to name the baby and stick
right,
to it.
right, and stick to the gender. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, but there's, I mean, like I said, there's gonna be all kinds of questions that can arise off of things that don't make sense, and the questions probably won't be answered.
No, they're not going to be answered. So
So
don't worry about it.
yeah, yeah, you just have to go along with it. Um, which is kind of a theme with a lot of the Tubi movies.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, continuity is a big stickler is a big stickler. I'm a big stickler for it, but yeah, you just have to let it go. So so moving on, yeah, so after they smash or whatnot, um
And it's very Skinamax. Like, it was way more explicit than I thought it was going to be.
you know, I saw your tweet about that. And then me rewatching it, because the first time I watched it, I was at work.
Hmm.
So when those scenes happened, I had to, like, turn my screen down.
Yeah, because it's very soft core. Like, I was like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. I either had to turn my screen down, or because it's a couple of sex scenes, so I had to either turn my screen down or forward through them.
Hmm.
And so when I watched it again, I was just like, for me, they weren't believable.
No, they never are because like angles
Yeah.
don't work or anything like that. To me, which is to me, it's like why even bother?
Yeah, like okay, just do something to make us assume that y'all had sex.
Right.
Like we don't actually have to see
Don't
the
have
act
right.
because none of this makes sense. Like she's riding his stomach. She
Clearly on his
still
belly
got on
button.
her underwear. Like, like it's weird. It's weird. And it's just like, okay, are we done here? Because this is stupid. But but yeah, and yeah, like even the sex scene that she had with her husband was stupid. Like they it was like it made sense the way the angle was for the husband, but not for her.
Also, they were like in the kitchen, like on probably was supposed to be like a marble countertop. And I'm like, that is extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
That is stone. What do we do?
yeah, and cold, and I mean, I guess her acting skills were top tier there because I would have been like, "Whoa, this is cold."
You know, and it'd be cutting into your belly or whatever. Like, no.
Right, right. And then like I said, like the angle makes sense for him because it looked like he didn't have on no clothes or pulled down
Right.
the shorts. But for her lingerie was still on and intact. Like they didn't even try to pull the panties to the side. Like it was still on. Like
Yeah.
it did not make sense, and we did not need it. It could have just been assumed that that's what y'all was doing, and then we could have moved on.
Right. And
So
there are several times in the movie where you can see a character's areolas, and I'm like,
yes,
who is behind the camera right now?
yes, yes, that happened a couple of times, and I'm like, okay, so we wasn't gonna put pasties on. All right,
We're not gonna use double sided tape.
yeah, like nothing, but here we are.
Right.
So yeah, so after her and Scott smash, now Scott is saying, just pretty much planning out their life. You gonna be with me, we gonna get you out your mama house, you gotta get your own place, and I'm gonna put a baby in you. You're gonna have
He
my daughter.
yeah, he uses very possessive language.
Yes.
Is still extremely like they just met like
Yes. Like this is like their first date.
48 hours ago.
Right.
And then yeah, he after they met at the club, he asked her on this date. He takes her to another club, I guess, in his mama's house or his house or something. And it's
Yeah.
just like this is not a date. Like this is not
Right. Right. This is a hangout spot,
right.
you know.
And
And this
she
person,
seems unhappy like with that,
yeah.
which I
Yeah.
would be too.
Right.
Um
Right.
And then his mom was like, "Oh, that she was cooking or something." She's like, "Oh, you got to go make him a plate, or you don't want to see how they act, or something like that, right? Something that
Right.
indicates if she doesn't make him a plate, he'll be angry about it." And that was my first to be like, "Oh no, well I'm gone," because if you're completely able and you're going to be angry that I didn't make you a plate, then we don't need to be together.
And this is the mama saying it, the
Right,
quote unquote mama saying this. Like it's like she's low key trying to tell you something, you
right.
know. So yeah, that stuck out for me. Um, and then we later on see why it stuck out, but yeah, like he pretty much plans this whole life for them after smashing. And she think the
Once,
shit is cute, right? One time, and she think the shit is cute, so she's like, okay,
right? Because it's everything she wants. This is another thing you find with love bombing. Oh, we're gonna have this future that you've always dreamed of, and it's also
mhm,
romantic because you're being swept off of your feet or whatever. You don't know this person.
mhm, yep, yep. And then on top of that, this is the first person that she's, you know, dated since her husband's death.
It's only been 9 months. Like she
Yeah,
really probably she should not be dating right now. Like
probably not, because
especially not
I'm assuming
somebody
that
who
she didn't
wants
put
to be
any.
who supposedly wants to be so serious so
Right,
soon.
right, right. And I'm assuming she didn't get any help during her grieving stage. So yeah, she's pretty much stuck in a place. And yeah, now this man is in your face saying all these types of things. So she's acting real green right now. So yeah, very very gullible, very
Yeah.
impressionable.
And like, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but it's like, I feel like you should have people who will
I
warn
don't
you
know
better than
either.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how old they're supposed to be either, because I was taking it that they was really young, but I don't know. I don't know, because I took it that they were like in their early to mid 20s, but like I said, I don't know.
Well, black don't crack, so who knows?
Right, right. Yeah, they could be damn near 40. So, um, so yeah, so we have this whole life planned out. She's okay with it, and then next thing you know, it's happening. She's moving
Yeah.
out of her mom's house. Her mom is having reservations about it. She hasn't even met the guy yet until the day that she moves out the house.
Which is insane. That's
Right,
insane.
right. And that gets brought up too. And she's like, "Well, I've been dating him for a while." Okay, you've been dating him for a while, and your mom is just now meeting him on the day that you move out. Like, and
She's
y'all
not.
supposed to
She's
be
been dating
close.
him for a week max. Like,
And y'all supposed to be close. Like, you just now bringing him up. Like, that did not make sense to me.
no, not at
Like, I
all.
get if y'all weren't close and y'all don't talk about that or anything like that, but
Y'all living
yeah,
together.
y'all living together. You're in grieving, so this is something new that's
Mhm.
going on, and you don't even mention to your mama, like, hey, so
Does not
the
make
guy
sense.
I've been dating is such and such. You want to meet him because like next week I'm moving out. Like nothing of the sort, you know. So
And you
but
have a young son. You're just gonna let this dude that you don't
yeah,
know
a
be around
1 year
your
old.
kid?
We have a 1 year old here at this point.
No.
So yeah. But that's what we're supposed to buy in the story. And so the guy comes, with the U-Haul and whatnot to help her move out her mama house. Her mom would go outside to meet him, and she's giving him third degree and whatnot. They're based out of Detroit,
Yeah.
so he's like, "Oh, I work for GM," because everybody in Detroit works for GM, right? So she's just like, "Yeah, no, no, you don't." And she like gives the protective mother speech.
Because she finds out that he is completely lying because she's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
which plant, which shift? And she's like, well, that can't be because I work at that plant on this shift for the past 11 years. I've never seen you a day in my life.
right, right, right. So we all
And we're
know
just not going to tell your daughter about this?
at all, at
Okay.
all. But yeah, and we all know the man is lying because he's the weed man,
Yeah.
and apparently he's more than just a weed man. I believe he's like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So yeah, so she gives the protective mother speech to him. Don't screw over my daughter. I'm coming for you. Um,
Which turns out not to be true.
no, no, not at all. It just sounded real good at the time.
Hmm.
Um,
I hate her mother. I hate her. And I
yeah,
don't use that word a lot.
yeah. She's not the best mother. She's not gonna get win mother of the year. But yeah. So the girl moves out and goes and lives with him. And then we fast forward a few
And it's
months.
not even like he's living in a nice house.
That's another thing I noticed too. Like she went to go live in she went to go live in a house in the hood. Like
Yeah.
and
And mind you, she had gotten
but
like a insurance payment or inheritance, whatever, from her husband for $400,000.
hmm yeah. But she's been sitting on it this whole time, like and
Yeah.
never told him at all. She never told him not
She
one
didn't
thing.
tell anybody. I don't
Yeah.
think. Which okay, that's fine, but there's no way I'm sitting on $400,000 and I'm living like this. Like it's not happening.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a trap house, but it's a house in the hood. Like you can definitely tell it's a house in the hood. Which ain't nothing wrong with living in a house in the hood, but
If I
going
don't
from
have to, and I have a kid, and I gotta think about
right,
school districts or whatever.
right, and going from the house that she had, hell, even going from her mama house,
Hmm.
But I mean, the house wasn't bad. I mean, it had a pool, but that was probably the best thing about the house was that it had a pool.
Hmm.
But yeah, I noticed that as well. I was just like, especially going from the house that she had, like I wouldn't have moved. Like,
No way.
yeah, I would have been like, yeah, no, this is the type of house that I'm accustomed to, and I'm sure you can afford it. So let's shoot higher than this. But she's not that type of person. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, they
yeah.
do her character really dirty. They could just make her very dim for no reason.
Hmm.
Because you don't have to be dim to fall for an abuser. They're pretty sophisticated at what they do. If they didn't, they wouldn't get to abuse multiple people.
Right. And they have to get you in a way that you will stick around for the
Right.
abuse. So
So her having all that money and then like moving into that house, like it doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. Right. So yeah, she moves into this house or whatever. Then we fast forward a few months of them being settled in the house. They're having a pool party, slash barbecue. The Scott guy is at a table playing cards, and she's going around being a host and whatnot.
Hmm.
Well, he has an exchange with one of the guys at the table, and so the guy gets up from the table, and then he goes over to Harlem.
Well, before that, while they're talking at the table, whatever, he says something, and then another guy is like, "Oh, don't! Why'd you say that? You know how he is about his women." Which
Yeah,
means they know how he is, and they have not challenged him in any way about it.
no, no, which makes me believe that this guy did this on purpose.
Yeah.
So the guy goes over to Harlem and asks Harlem for a plate of food. So she's like, yeah, I'll go get you a plate. Goes in the house, fix this man a plate. The man is back at the card table with Scott. And so she comes over with the plate to give to the man. And then she's saying to Scott, okay, I'm about to go fix your plate now.
Hmm.
Scott flips out,
Loses it.
completely loses it. And and this is the funny part about this, because it ain't like this person is a bad actor. So I'm not saying that, but his best acting is when he's calling her a bitch. I don't know what that means, but yeah, like when he goes off and he starts
He's
calling her
terrifying.
bitches.
Honestly, he's really scary.
Yeah.
I did not grow up in a house with a bunch of yelling and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So like his yelling, like really, I was jumping. Like I'm like, what the hell? I'm like,
Hmm. Yeah.
but I'm also ready to go. Like, okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah.
Because he gets on her, is like holding her face on the table. He throws the food on her. It's just really like,
Hmm. Very, very, very intense scene.
yeah.
So, yeah, she tried to make it, which I don't know why she thought that this was going to be okay. But while he's yelling at her, she tries to make it better by giving the guy
Because
the
she's just
kid.
trying to do anything. She's just trying to do
Right,
anything to
right,
make it
but
stop.
and I totally get that. But if I had a problem with not getting a plate, I would most definitely have a problem with a secondhand plate. Even if I didn't have a problem with getting a plate, I would have a problem with a secondhand plate.
Well, your real problem is that you're an abuser. So
Right, right. totally agree
You
in
should be
agreement
thankful
there.
somebody made you a plate to begin with.
Right, right. I'm totally in agreement with you right there. But
Yeah, I thought that would
yeah,
make him upset too, but like it doesn't even
yeah,
matter. She was just trying to do anything to make a stop.
yeah. And I get it, and I totally get it. But yeah, secondhand plates are not gonna make things better. They actually got the plate thrown on her. So now she's in front of all these people. She's having to clean this up,
She's got food all
and
over her white top.
yeah, food all over her white top. It's a mess. So I mean, she ends up cleaning it up, and then she goes into the house, and when she goes into the house, she's trying to clean up, but now you can obviously tell that Scott is drunk, and he come in there and he's like trying to like gesture her to for them to have sex, and she's like, "Are you
With a
really?"
pool noodle. With a pool noodle.
Yes, with a
And
pool
like it's
noodle.
extremely like immature for one thing.
Yeah.
And for the other thing, he just beat the crap out of her.
And she's just like, "Are you freaking serious right now?" And so, yeah, he was dead ass serious. And then we have a sexual assault scene that is reminiscent of that one scene from What's Love Got to Do with It.
It's just as explicit as all the sex scenes and filmed like the same way. It's really traumatizing, honestly. I do
Yeah,
not like this movie at all. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah,
I can't.
yeah. So, I'm just gonna, just try to
Yeah, for sure.
fast forward through this because I mean, it drags on long. I mean, it's what almost like a 2 hour movie, like,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't have
It's like
been.
an hour and 49
So
minutes. And I
yeah,
know because I
yeah,
was checking
you're
constantly.
right. So yeah, we have this scene or whatnot, and it was a, I mean, it was an intense scene. So we move on from that. They basically go over several times when she's trying to leave. He ends up knocking her out one time when in front of her son.
Yeah, she
Once
tries
he
to
tells her-
get away with her son, and she's telling him, "Hey, just keep your eyes closed until we get to the
Mhm.
car. Anything you hear going on, just keep your eyes closed. We're just playing a game, whatever. Just make sure you keep your eyes." The baby never closes his eyes;
No, no,
eyes
not
open the whole
not one
time.
time. Yeah. And then she gets knocked out by him.
I was
Um,
so scared. I was so scared.
yeah, yeah. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So that happened, and then she's up. I mean, then there's another scene where she's trying to act like everything's okay and whatnot because he's getting ready to go out of town. Um, and when he goes out of town, she ends up taking a pregnancy test, finds out she's pregnant. So now she's like, "Fuck." So now she's really planning her exit while he's out of town. She
Hmm.
ends up going back to her mom's house. She cuts off communication. Um, then we fast forward a few more months. Now she's at her baby shower, and her mama invited him to the baby shower. So
And
now,
really, yeah, her mom invites him to the baby shower. Like, well, you got to stop inviting people to
yeah,
parties, mom.
yes,
And like after the speech that she gave him when she first met him, I don't care how many times he's calling. If
yeah,
my child is that scared of you and does not want to see you during her pregnancy with your baby, who is now a product of rape, congratulations,
hmm,
you cannot come to my house. I don't care what you have to say.
right, right. And she's like really trying to talk Harlem into
Getting back together with
getting
him. And I'm
back
like,
with
what? This is not who you
her.
were.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? Like, if it's really that bad that she left him soon as she found out she was pregnant, or around the time she found out she was pregnant, like, stay out of them folks' business. Like,
And
she's doing it for a reason.
it seems like maybe Harlem didn't tell her everything that was going on, but like it doesn't even matter. Like you see how scared she is and like
Right.
how much
You
she
don't
doesn't
have
have contact with him.
right. You don't have to tell her the ins and outs of the relationship for her to know. For one, stay out of the business. And for two, leave leave that shit alone. Don't get involved.
Just
And to the
protect your
point,
kid.
right, right. So, but that didn't happen. She invited him. She's talking Harlem to dealing with him again.
Hmm.
They
And see, like I could have understood if they set up her character to be one of those, oh, you got to have a man type, or you got to have a father for your son type, or something like that. But that's not how they set
that's
up her
not what this
character.
was. Right, right, right. That's not what this was at all. And but yeah, so she's trying to play nice with him at the baby shower, but she's really not into it or whatnot. But he's just like, I've changed, I've gone to counseling. I got a great push gift for you. Just trust me, blah blah blah. So and this is the part that threw me because I wouldn't trust him to walk across the street,
I mean,
let
I would
alone get in his car and him take me somewhere.
no, like, the whole thing with them getting back together, like that happens in abusive relationships. So I understand
Yeah,
that happening. But like the idea that I would get in your car and go away with you while
yeah.
I'm pregnant, while I'm heavily pregnant,
Right. The
no.
same day that I just started talking to you.
And she's like, "Where are we? I don't know where we are, girl."
Right. That
I
didn't
would
make
have been
no
calling the
sense.
cops because, like,
Right. Right. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. Like I would have. I mean, if I were to take somebody back in a situation like that, we would definitely have to ease in. Like you would have to prove to me without a shadow of a doubt that you are a changed person. This right here didn't make no sense, but she gets in the car with him and he takes her to this secluded area. And now
a,
now
a
you're
house
like,
that's
hey,
like not fully constructed. I was like, "Oh, so he's going to kill you." That
yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
you're absolutely going to murder me." Like,
right. Like this is the end. But yeah, like the only thing I was thinking of that it may not go down was the fact that she's pregnant with his kid. And
mhm,
that's what he really wanted. So I'm like, maybe that's the only saving grace, but it was gonna go down other than that.
mhm.
But then she goes into the house with him, and the person that killed her husband is there. Now, how he knows exactly who the person
Right. Doesn't
is
make any sense.
beyond me, but
Because they
that's
talk
what
about
it
it
is.
before, beforehand, and she's like, "I'll never forget his face," and he has no idea what this dude looks like.
Right. Right. They never ran into the guy. She's never shown him a police sketch or anything. Like it did not make sense that he knew exactly who the person was and he got it right. That was the person. Like it didn't make sense at all.
Which should
But
have been a clue. Like, how would he know?
right. Right.
And also the fact that he had his mouth all taped up like that, I was like, I
Yeah.
bet he set him up.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, yeah, none of it made sense, but here we are. And yeah, she sees who it is, and she says her words to him, which was reminiscent of the words that he said to her after he killed her husband. And so Scott ends up killing the guy. So when that happened or whatnot, then we move on like ain't shit happened. And
This does not negatively affect their relationship at all.
no, it probably brought them close together. So so yeah, so we move on. She has the baby. Now she's getting showered with all these gifts and all this kind of stuff. And so with her having the baby, then she finds clues that are making her think that he's cheating on her. Not only is he cheating on her, but he's cheating on her with her cousin. And so we
Another cousin, Shayna, because Lolo's supposed to be her cousin too.
I thought Lolo was her best friend.
I think it's both. I believe it was both.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah. And then Lolo sleeps with women and men, and everybody's like, "Oh, she's confused." It's like, is she just bisexual?
Right.
She could just be bi.
Right. Or she could just be doing her,
Right,
I
or
don't,
whatever.
I don't think
Right.
she's confused, but all right, yeah. But no, 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 they're not related because remember when she came over at the end for that wellness check
Oh, that's
to
right.
go to that
Yeah,
house.
that's
Yeah.
right.
So but anyway, So so yeah, so she has her red flags up or whatnot. And then next thing you know, their friend that was the makeup artist in the salon is sick. So they go and see him. He's in hospice on his deathbed. Um, he's
And
got
the makeup they have on him is just very. It
yeah,
seems like they just did everything they knew how to do.
yeah,
Because it looked like he had been beaten, and then it looked like he's also like bloody, and then it also looks like he has pustules on his face. And I just like, okay, it seems like they threw everything at him that they knew how to do.
um, you know what it reminded me of? When you see films of people that got the package, um, from back in like the 80s and 90s.
Got the package.
Yeah, that's what they call it, the
I've
package.
never heard that before. Okay.
You haven't have
No.
oh wow, yeah, that's what they call it, the package. But yeah, so back in like the 80s and 90s when you would see films that were in the 80s and 90s talking about people with the pack, well, if you don't know what the package is, it's AIDS. Um but how they would have lesions and stuff all over
Right.
them. That's what it reminded me of. Like,
Yeah.
but I in real life have seen people who passed away from AIDS. Like they don't look like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I was like. This is very stereotypical
Hmm.
80s
It's
of
it's
people that
very
die.
old school. Like I was,
Yeah,
yeah. And like this is after she has a scene where she runs into Lolo and they have this big argument. Lolo's like, "You don't even come around the shop anymore. You don't even know that Jamella's sick. If you had, if you had been a real friend, you'd keep in touch with us. You were sitting on all this money. You didn't even help anybody out." I was like, "What?"
right,
No.
right, right. So,
And she's like,
and
you
how
need
did
to
she even
leave,
find out
Scott.
about the
Blah
money?
blah blah blah. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing because I'm like, y'all talking about money. How like she never talked about the money, but what else? But yeah, that's what I took it as with Jamel. And then we find out he's on hospice. He's got everything
We
already
find out he's in hospice from him while
right
she's
from
there.
him.
Which I'm like,
That's
how did you
another
not
thing.
know? When you're like,
Right,
that's
right.
like going to visit somebody in the hospital and they tell you I'm in the hospital. Like it's on the
Mm-hmm.
door.
Right, right. That's another thing. I'm just like, okay, so you're in hospice in the hospital? Are you about to go to the place? Like, what? Oh, I mean, okay. Like, but yeah. So, so yeah, that that situation happens.
Yeah, he
Um,
has to comfort her,
yeah.
and then also he's begging her to leave Scott on his deathbed. Like, girl, could you
Right. Can we focus here? Like, this is kind of more important, but
Yeah. And we never get a funeral for Jamel,
no.
which
We
really
don't
upset me.
even we don't even get an official he's passed on,
Nope.
you
We just
know?
never see
We
him
just
again.
like which they could have completely done without this part of the story and we would have been okay.
And see
Because
what
it
it
wasn't
is,
like
it's
it
a
was a
lot of
main
like
character or anything.
right. It's what combination of stereotypes and checking the boxes. He's not a real character. He's just there to help her transition into, her next step of phase of life. He's just there to be what people would say a gay angel, like a gay angel,
Hmm.
and then he's just gone as if
Yeah.
he did not matter.
Yeah. 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 Like it was completely weird because we don't get a start and stop with this character. And
He's
then
just
you take us on this emotional roller coaster with this character. We see this traumatic appearance change for him and then nothing. And it's like, why are you doing this to us? Why are we here? So yeah.
and because I enjoyed him when he was on screen, right?
Yeah, it was cute. It
Yeah.
was real cute, you know. But again, like it wasn't needed because it wasn't like okay, you go to a gay club. Okay. What are we here for? It
Yeah, your
wasn't like you
characters
was
need to matter
going.
to the story.
Right, right. It wasn't like you were going to get turned out or anything like
Right.
that. Like what why are we here?
I can understand, why we're here, like, because she's, been in mourning, whatever. They want to get her out the house, so they, take her to this club and whatever, give her a new experience, blah, blah. I get that, right?
Mhm.
But you also need to make your character matter to the story outside of the main character as well. You need to make them a full character, not just here to help the main character.
Yeah. But what we could have done, which would have shaved off some time and would have made more sense, is if they would have, after they got her all dolled up or whatever, they could have taken her to the straight club where she would have seen Scott there. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, they did later.
They did later, but we
Yeah.
didn't meet the gay club. Is
I
my point.
mean, it's whatever, right? Because they obviously didn't care. So,
No, no, but I'm just saying, like, it would have been a more tighter story and would have
I
shaved
see. Just
some
kind of like
time.
cut the scene off.
Yeah,
I
just
see what you
cut,
mean.
cut the scene off because, like you just said, like it needs to make sense, like to the story. Like it doesn't make sense to the story to go to this gay club
And nothing happens
and
as a
nothing comes
result.
from it. Right,
Yeah.
right. Like I said, she didn't get turned out or anything like that. So what are we here for? Like this legit made no sense to
I
anyone.
mean, especially if they don't go back. Like, it would be one
Right,
thing if
they
they were
don't
like,
go
"Oh, this
back.
was our regular kind of spot or whatever."
Right, right. They don't go back. Um, nothing comes from it. Like nothing happened or nothing. Like nothing traumatic happened to where she'd be like, I ain't fucking with y'all no more. Like nothing. Nothing. So anyway, but yeah, fast forward through that. She ends up finding out, she ends up confirming that her cousin is messing with Scott.
Mhm.
She tries to fight the cousin. She
Her cousin went into her closet and took her clothes, and her mama just let her. And I was just like, "What?"
yeah. Yeah, it was weird.
Did not even ask if she could do that. Like,
Mm-mm. No, no. And then Lola supposed to be her best friend. She in on the shit too.
which
Um,
doesn't make any sense because Lola was just
yeah,
telling her, "You need to leave Scott." Blah 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 blah. He doesn't
yeah,
care about you. He's sleeping with other women. Da 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 da. But
right.
you're over here still messing with him.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, and then she tries to come on to Scott too at one point, and it was just like, okay.
Why?
I
Why
mean,
would
he
you do
was
that? You see how
attractive,
he
but
treated not only
you know,
her, because there was one point where she was at the shop, and then the woman who Scott was with initially is at the shop too, and like
yeah,
she's got an attitude with her because now she's the one with Scott or whatever, and she's like she's just tired of getting her ass beat, blah blah blah. It was like, why are we being so nasty? There's really no reason. You both know
there
he
really isn't.
ain't.
Right,
He-
right. There really isn't. And like we said before, like it really wasn't no confirmation on what their relationship was. And
no,
I guess this was the confirmation
right.
when they have this conversation like over an hour into the film. So yeah.
So it's just like I don't understand. After Lolo seeing and witnessing all of these things, it doesn't
Now
make
she
any
wants
sense.
Scott. Right. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, Scott is attractive, but he ain't
He ain't
like
that attractive.
at all. Like he ain't like put my common sense on the shelf. I'll come back to it later type attractive. Like there's
Mm-mm.
no. So so yeah, like he can have the prettiest hair in the world and it's still a no.
That's
Like
nice. I can get a wig. It'll be fine. Like,
right, right. No. Mm-mm.
I would
So
rather be alone forever.
oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so pretty much fast forwarding through this movie because it's long with a bunch of scenes that are stupid. But
Because like for some reason, Scott and Shayna and Lolo and the other dude that Scott hangs out with are now playing strip poker
yeah.
regularly.
Yeah. And they're doing this thinking that Harlem is gonna be at the hospital, but she pulled a 1-2, pulls up and
Because Shayna went and stole her clothes.
right, right. And so yeah, she pulls up, and then Scott is like high and drunk through all of this. And when she
Frequently.
pulls up, yeah, when she pulls up, she tries to fight her cousin, tries to fight Scott. So yeah, so now she's gonna leave him again. So she leaves him, and then now her plan is to open up a business in Atlanta, mind you, they're in Detroit. So
What kind of business? Just a business.
just a business.
Now
The
they
boss
did
is
talk
really
earlier about this woman that I think Lolo knew who was in
they did
Atlanta selling bundles or whatever. But when
yeah.
it comes to her opening this business in Atlanta, they don't specify what she's going to be doing, what kind of
No,
business it is. Yeah, like
no.
it's
I guess we're supposed to supposed to put two and two together, I guess.
no.
Um, but yeah, she buys a brick and mortar, and now she's flirting with the real estate agent. And now the real estate agent is supposed to be finding her a place in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes back to Detroit, and she comes in the house bearing gifts, and she talks to her mama, and she's just like, yeah, um I got a business in Atlanta, and we're moving, and I want you to move too. Didn't take that much convincing, but
Ain't
her
no way
mama
I would be
said,
talking to my mother ever again if that was my. Are you
yeah.
kidding me?
But yeah, it didn't take that much convincing, but her mom agreed. And so now her mama wants to throw a going away party.
Why, girl?
This
Y'all
made
just
no
need to
sense to me.
leave. This
Right.
man is very dangerous. And she's talking about he's been calling the house and threatening and whatever, whatever.
Yes. This made no sense to me at all, because if you're trying to flee a toxic relationship, why are you throwing a party?
So
But
she can
hey,
invite somebody else who don't need to be there again.
right. So now we have this party.
Why
Excuse me.
does Lolo know that you're moving to Atlanta, by the way? Because Lolo is the one who tells Scott. And this is after Lolo and what's the name have had this disagreement.
Yeah.
And this
Lolo
is
and Harlem. Yeah.
and this is after Harlem discovered Lolo Harlem and Shayna and whatever and all them playing strip poker or whatever. Why does Lolo know these details? Who was saying?
Right. Right.
I
Who's
blame the
telling
mom.
her? Right. Right. And so Scott is like on this mission trying to get his family back, blah blah blah.
I'm gonna get my family back.
I
Oh my
don't
god, I
know
want my family back.
why. Right. I don't know why they him and Harlem's cousin were conversing if his plan was to get his
Well, he
family
said,
back.
"You told me Harlem was
But
gonna be here with you, and so we get because they were supposed to be her and Harlem together, so that when Scott came, the cousin and Scott could deny that they weren't ever doing anything with each other. Which why would I believe you?
oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, yeah, because I was just like, what? None of this makes sense to me. But okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense. So
it
yeah, so
doesn't,
she,
but
yeah, right,
that's the
right.
story they're going with.
That's the story they're going with, right? So yeah, so the guy goes over to the cousin's place, and he's still on this whole, I want my family back. You got me over here on the false pretenses, blah blah blah. So the cousin tells him, well, shoot, you talking about your family, but your family here because I'm pregnant too. And she's trying to like have sex with him and whatnot. And at first he lets her give him head, but then he's just like, oh no, I want my family back. Okay. So then she tells him that she's pregnant and whatnot. So now he flips out, kills her, and then goes on about his business. And so when they end up having this going away party, he shows up. Now, right before he showed up, Lolo showed up to the party because she's been trying to get a hold of the cousin. The cousin is not answering the call. She goes over to her house. She sees the car there, but nobody's answering the door. And so she's going over to Harlem's house because they're the girl's cousin, and they can do the wellness check. She can't do the wellness check.
Which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why
I
it has.
thought anybody could do a wellness check,
Right?
but
How would
whatever.
they even know you weren't related?
Right. Because they're not. I mean, they're not asking for your
They're
lineage.
not DNA testing
Whatever.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So she goes over there and asks the mom. The mom is just like, oh, she'll show up. Blah blah
Oh,
blah.
everybody hates Lolo. So the mom just hates Lolo so much. Like
Right.
all this is Lolo's fault.
Right.
Girl.
None of this. Okay. So, so yeah, so they have that interaction or whatever, and Lolo stays at the party. I don't know why she stayed at the
Because
party, but
she's at the party to talk to Harlem about her cousin because she's worried about her cousin. The mom is like blocking her, or whatever, as if Lolo was involved in beating and raping her daughter. Like as if Lolo was the one who ever invited him over to the house and encouraged him to get back together.
right,
As if
right,
Lolo did not tell her that this dude is not worth your time.
right, right. She wanted her from the jump. So yeah, but I don't know. Me personally, I probably would have just been like, you know what, fuck it, I'm out. But no,
She
she
was scared
didn't.
for the girl's life, I guess. So
I mean, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, so she stayed at the party or whatever. Now she's there. She done got her a plate and everything. But the mom is out front with the little granddaughter or whatnot. And Scott pulls up. Scott gives the baby an envelope, like the baby could read it, but
Or even open it.
or even open it, right? He has an interaction with Harlem's mom, and then he goes into
And
the
she just lets him. She just lets him go in the party. I just like,
yeah,
how are you so mad at Lolo, but you're letting this man in your house? And
yeah,
you're gonna leave him unsupervised with the kids?
yeah,
I
right.
was so scared because I was like, the way this goes, like one
It's
of the
not
first
gonna
things
end
I learned
well.
in I think it's what a gender and media studies class back in college, and one of the things that always stuck with me is like when you hear those stories of like a murder suicide or
Mhm.
where like somebody killed the whole family, they are always domestic abuse situations. That is the
Oh
end
yeah,
result of domestic abuse situations. So
yeah.
the moment she let them back into the house, that he's even there, that he's with the kids unsupervised, I'm like, oh, so he's gonna take these children, he's gonna kill them or use them as bait to try and kill her and kill everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
how this goes.
It
So
was definitely set up for that, 100%. Yeah, and I was just like, I wouldn't have. Well, he wouldn't have been there if it was me, but I wouldn't have let him out of my sight. Like, and they just let him be with the kids. Like they were way too trusting
I was
that
so
he was
scared. I
saying.
was so scared because
And
there are like so many scenes in between him getting there and then like him like the baby being handed off to somebody else where I was just like, where are these children?
right, right, right. So yeah, so he ends up playing with like both of the kids at one point, and then he goes into the party. He talks to he talks to Harlem. Harlem is not here for anything he's talking about and whatnot.
And
She's
like
still
y'all are
like,
not like scared enough for me because
right, right. It was, and he said a couple of things because like even at the baby shower, he was like, if you don't get back with me, I'll kill myself and stuff. So it ain't like he ain't never threw out these type of threats before to where they would be like, okay, you're crazy. I don't want no parts of you. So, but like you said, they're too calm and too trusting of him,
and I
in
don't know why.
yeah, like there's too many examples out here in the world that you really can't put nothing past anyone. But they are again being gullible when it comes to him. The shit don't turn out to his liking, of course. And he goes out, the party's in the backyard, so he ends up going around the house leaving. Well, what we
Hmm.
thought.
At this point, there were like 8 minutes left in the movie,
Hmm.
but I was forced fast forwarding 30
Yeah.
seconds because I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, um so he looks out, I mean, he looks into the window of the house and he sees Harlem with his daughter, and she's in there and she's kind of playing with the baby, but then she's like about to change the baby. And so the kid, her son, is in the house as well. And while she's tending to the baby, her son is at the door and he's like, shut up, you shut up, and blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Next thing you know, you hear pow. and the baby drops.
Yeah, and that was the last thing I saw. I turned the movie off.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, that was Scott killing the son. So now he's come back in the house with a gun going towards Harlem. Harlem is like, oh my God, Scott, please don't, blah, blah, blah. The baby's right there and whatnot. And next thing you know, they shoot to looking on the side of the house where everybody is outside partying. Like they didn't just hear
A
him shoot
gunshot
the
at
kid.
close range. Like what?
Yeah, they're acting like they did not hear the kid get shot at all. But then next thing you know, you hear pow, pow, pow. And so everybody leaves. And then they cut back into the house and you see that he shot Harlem. So now Harlem's dead. So everybody done everybody done ran out or whatnot. Her mama's in the back, but then she comes in the house and she sees the baby sitting next to her dead mama, and then she also sees the son dead. So now she holding the baby, flipping out. But then while everybody's leaving, Lolo is leaving and she's trying to get into her truck. Well, she's fidgeting, trying to put the key into the door, and Scott is walking towards her, shoots her. So now she's dead. So the mama is like flipping out, but then she puts the baby down, grabs a gun and goes outside. So now she's like, she didn't walked up on Scott because Scott at this point is in his drop top, and she's pointing the gun at him, and she's just like, "Oh my God, you shot my daughter, you shot my grandson, blah blah blah." She's talking to him while she's pointing the gun at him,
Why
and
are
so
we talking? Why are we
right,
talking? Just
we're
shoot him.
yeah, I didn't understand that either, but she's giving her best dramatic performance. He's looking at her like, yeah, whatever. He takes his hat off. He's kind of like smirking. And then like he looks in the mirror, he fixes his hair, fixes his mustache and whatnot. He grabs his gun, puts it up under his chin, and shoots himself.
Yeah, that's
And that's
exactly
how
how
the
I thought that
movie
would
ends.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I did not finish that movie.
Yeah. And so when that happens, she falls into the grass and she's just, again, giving her best dramatic performance. And that's how the movie ends. So yeah.
So why did
So
you
I want
suggest
to
this
go on
movie?
record. I want to go on record and say I apologize that this affected you the way it did. I'm weird, so it didn't affect me the way it affected you, and how it affected a lot of people because this movie went viral when it came out a month ago. Like a lot of people were talking about it.
And what were
And
they saying?
they was just like, "Oh my God, this movie is crazy." And I can't believe this movie. They weren't spoiling it, but everybody was in shock, And I'm just like, what is going on in this movie? I need to see for myself. And it was like, oh my God, you're going to be flipping out when you watch it. Okay, well, let me go watch it. And then I would come back, and when I came back, I was like, I see why y'all were tripping, but I wasn't affected by that. But
It's not
like I
crazy. It's
said, I'm
bad.
weird. Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, I'm weird because I remember back when For Color Girls came out, there was a scene where everybody talked about it and everybody was talking about how they cried and how they were affected and blah blah blah. I wasn't affected that way. Now, when I went and saw the movie and that scene happened, I didn't cry, but I couldn't sit still. So I
Yeah.
was affected, but I wasn't affected like everybody else. So I'm weird. But yeah. So
For me, there was no point to this movie. They weren't saying anything.
mhm.
It was just traumatic experience after traumatic experience for no reason, no examination. Like, I don't understand why this movie was ever made.
Yeah. You know, a lot of the Tubi movies are like that. To where you're like, it's not a cohesive story. It's not a tight story. And we talked about this before on another movie where you can tell that like people didn't really take screenwriting seriously, and it shows. Like you get stuff like this.
Like I don't even understand what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
What is it you were what were you trying to tell your audience? What were we supposed to get from this?
Yeah, like what's the moral of the story?
Just what are you trying to say? What's the
Yeah.
message? Like I don't mind like movies that are necessarily bad, or like they can be so bad they're good, or kind of funny or whatever, but like this was
Mhm.
not any of those things for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the movie poster didn't match the movie. That was
No.
another thing that
You
annoyed me.
you the movie poster would make you think there was kind of like some kind of romantic rivalry going on, perhaps.
Yes, yes.
And
And
no.
no, it wasn't that at all.
Oh, and also we find out that he actually set up her husband to be murdered because he wanted to get out of the game.
Right, right. It didn't have nothing to do with her. Like the movie poster may have remotely made sense if it had anything to do with Harlem, but
Right.
it didn't.
She
Uh,
never even has a wedding dress.
no, no, they're already married when we meet her. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's a nice movie poster. It just literally has nothing to do with the movie.
Nothing.
Um, but yeah, yeah. It had a lot of it had a whole lot of flaws in the movie, but
Yeah, for me there's nothing redeeming about this film.
yeah,
Other movies you'd be like, oh well, the cinematography is really great, or
hmm
it's funny, or costuming is totally different, but for me there's nothing. No.
yeah, yeah. Like there was nothing like you weren't rooting for nobody in particular.
I was
Uh,
like, is she gonna like get back at him somehow or something? Like, what is
yeah.
like, is this gonna be like a revenge film or something? Nope, nope, just abusive,
hmm
just abuse.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it was. But unfortunately, it might be more realistic.
Yeah, it's realistic, but it's also saying nothing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this is like the way the story was told. It was very much like I could have watched the news.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, there's no point being made. It's just things that are happening.
hmm Yeah, yeah. And then, like I said, it was almost 2 hours. There was a lot of things that that did happen in the film that you could have cut.
Yeah,
You know, definitely, definitely could have cut
yeah.
a lot of things out of this movie and
And
made it
like, cause,
more.
cause like Shayna shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I was like, who is this?
right, right. Because the first time we saw her was at the baby shower, and she wasn't introduced to us or anything
No,
like that. So, yeah, it's weird. Now all of a sudden she's with you.
right.
So, and y'all have one conversation about bundles, and I guess we're supposed to put two and two together that you're going to Atlanta
Yeah.
to start this bundle business.
15 scenes later, right?
Right. And then that's not how that works. You don't just
No,
go
you
to
don't buy a
another
building.
city and start a bundle business. Like that's not how any of this works. Yeah, and then you sit on this money for years, and now all of a sudden you're spending it frivolously.
Girl,
Yeah,
we didn't get go to Edward Jones and like get a like somebody help us.
nothing, nothing. And then I guess we're supposed to assume that she's spending that money, and she didn't stash money from uh Scott.
I have no idea
Yeah, I mean,
because apparently he didn't know about the money either.
yeah, like
So it's like,
she's been sitting on this money that nobody knew about, but now everybody knows about. Like, yeah,
Why would you be working at all? I don't know.
yeah. Like, what was the point? Like, a lot of stuff. Like I said in the beginning, there was a lot of questions that you would have watching this film that would not be answered.
That was literally one of my tweets. I was like, I have questions for Lindsay about this movie.
I saw that too. All right. So we have our rating system. One, movie reel is trash AF. Two, it exists. Three, entertaining. Four, great. Five, a true classic.
Hmm.
Maria, what say you?
It's gonna be a 1 for me.
One, trash. I think this is your first one.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it really like my nervous system was shot. Like I could not like when he shot that baby. I just said, "Oh no," and I just turned it off. And I
Yeah.
was like pacing for the next 15 minutes. Like I really couldn't sit down. I was really agitated and just like angry about the movie existing. And
Mm,
I just just watching it was an incredibly unpleasant experience for me. So I would not recommend this movie for anyone.
yeah. Yeah. I would give it a two. And the reason why I would give it a two is because of it going viral.
Yeah, I guess we were on different sides of the internet that day because I've not heard about this movie at
I don't
all.
know what that says about my friends on Facebook, but that's where I saw it. I saw it on Twitter too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but when I got to asking questions was on Facebook because I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I've been seeing this. Now what the hell, you know?
And it's just so wild to me because like it's not for me. It's like it's not entertaining at all. Like
Mhm.
so, oh, this movie's so wild and crazy. It's not like this kind of thing happens literally every day.
Yeah.
Uh, so if you're gonna make a movie about something that happens that kind of frequently, you need to be saying something about it, not just depicting it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree because it is more of a depiction than something being said.
Yeah.
And for something this close to some people's real life, you kind of want to take a more moral ground route to telling a story like this to try to save people from going through something
You
like
know, yeah, like, are you trying to warn people? What are you
that.
trying to do? Because like now you're just showing me what happens. Okay, I know that, but like
Mhm.
now I'm having to sit through it. Like, am I? I can't imagine wanting people to feel this way after watching a movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would be interested in seeing because the Harlem girl, that's the producer,
Yeah,
and she also wrote the movie too.
yeah.
And so, I would be curious to know what, like, to see an interview of her and to know what her thought process was behind this movie. Like, what was she trying to say? Like, what was her end game?
What does she want people to take away from it?
Yeah.
You know, that's a question you'll find a lot of people asking actors in interviews. Like, what do you want people to take away from this movie?
Mhm.
Which needs to be, one of the first questions you're asking when you're writing a movie.
Right, right, right. Like, what am I trying to say
Right.
with this movie?
What thoughts and feelings do I want the audience to leave with
Hmm.
after watching this?
Yeah, yeah,
And it doesn't have to
yeah.
be super deep. It could just be I want them to have fun or something.
Mhm.
But you need
Right,
to have that in place to kind of be a guiding light for what you're doing.
right, right, right. And then, you know, if the red flags aren't spelled out, at least have a character that's like saying what
Right.
Like, what is going on? Not trying to.
And don't have that character suddenly switch motivations.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, we need to have like a moral ground character that should have been 100% against him and not, yeah, because like, even though Lolo was against him, she low key wanted him and she knew all of this was going on. So, yeah, it was, yeah,
It didn't make any sense.
yeah,
Even if you were like, well, it happened to that one girl who's just in my chair sometimes. Oh, but it happened to this person who's like my best friend. Like, why would
right.
what? Do y'all
Mhm.
have friends in real life?
Yeah, yeah, like nobody was 100% for, maybe Jamel was, but hell, he died.
Did he? We
Right.
don't know.
We don't know. And he had his own stuff going on. So,
Supposedly.
yeah. Yeah, so well, that was if I can't.
And I
So,
cannot. So
right. So yeah, I know this is like super late, but if you couldn't tell already, we have pivoted our focus from catching movies that we haven't seen to movies that may not be affected by the current strike. So we're focusing on A24 films and also independent films currently until the strike is over.
Mhm.
So this is one of those independent films. Sometimes you strike gold with them. Sometimes you strike shit. So yeah.
Yeah.
What are we watching next week, Maria?
So I decided not to take out complete revenge on you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. But this is a horror movie.
Okay.
Um, it's called The Witch. It's spelled with two V's.
Okay.
It came out in 2016 or 2015. Very. I've actually seen this one. I liked it a lot. It's interesting. It's very creepy. It takes place in like I don't know, 1600s, I guess it has to be, like American colony.
Okay.
And this family is shunned from their church and village and made to go live by themselves. And strange things start happening.
Oh, jeez. Okay. So watch this in the middle of the day. Got it.
Yeah. I'm good. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna let you know. Like, watch it in the middle of the day. I don't know if you may want to eat or not.
Okay.
Um, I don't recall it being like gory or anything, which would be the thing that would make me not want to eat.
Yeah.
But this is on Max. Which we
Okay.
still call HBO when it's out. What are you doing? Yeah.
Right. I, you know, Max is carrying a whole bunch of stuff. I guess they have finally merged Discovery and
Yeah.
Max together and HBO together. Okay.
Well, I mean, as companies, but not necessarily as channels, right? So I can't. I have access to Max, but it doesn't mean I have access to Discovery Plus, as far as I know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I've noticed stuff from TLC and OWN is now on Max.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So they'll be doing a lot of that. I've
yeah.
also noticed, like during the strike, that a lot of companies that also have a network channel, are
Hmm.
showing their content on that channel. So, like the other day, I saw, was it Miss Marvel was on
Hmm.
ABC? Like they were showing it on ABC.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a few different companies have been doing that as well to get over the fact they have no programming because of
Yeah.
the strike.
Yeah. Well, some of them had already been doing that. Like Bravo shows Ultimate Girls Trip, which is
Okay.
a Peacock thing, and then Tyler Perry movies, not
Oh wow.
movies, films that are not films, damn it, TV shows that are exclusive to BET Plus,
Mm-hmm.
and not even the Tyler Perry, just the Tyler Perry because Miss Pat show too. Um, they show them on TV now as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some of them were already doing that, but now I guess because of the strike, there's other apps that are following suit.
Yeah, for sure.
So, hmm
Because it's, easier than having to pay people what they're worth, I guess.
right, right. Especially now with the heat on reality, because that's how we had this big reality show boost was from the
Hmm.
last strike.
Exactly.
So, but now there's heat on reality.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yep, it's gonna be interesting these next couple of weeks at least.
Yeah, I really, man, it's gonna be a thing because what they said they were going to the table to negotiate or whatever, and what they're asking for is like not even 1%, is less than 1% of like what the studios are making. It's like 0.0018 or something like that, right?
Hmm. And then
And
I
they
give that.
refused to give that to, yes, they're refusing, and I was just like, what? So greedy, so greedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would
Um.
still be very rich.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I
Right.
mean, and like the thing is, like even in the union, there's this thing where if you make at least like $26,000 a year, you get health care.
Hmm.
But like 80% of the people in the union don't make $26,000 a year on union projects.
Wow.
How?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's just like, how can you live like that? You know what I mean? And then you need healthcare.
You need health care.
Yeah. So
Not a luxury. You need it.
no, no, you definitely need it. Yeah.
So
Mm-mm.
we're committed to trying our best to cover things that won't be affected by the strike.
Right.
As much as there's so many things I would love to do and talk about right now. So,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
more than that, I want people to get what they deserve. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely stand with them on this because it's not like they're asking for anything ridiculous.
no,
They're they should honestly they should be asking for more.
for real.
Yeah. So but yeah. Yep. So in the meantime, is Witch a A24 film?
It is an A24 film.
Okay. All right. So we will be watching it next time. So Maria, where can we find you?
You can find me on pretty much any social media platform as Valar More Dollars. That's VALARMOR Dollars. I'm also on another podcast called Nerdgasm Noir, where it's 5 Black women talking nerdy, geeky, and techie things. So you can come join us over there if you like any of that. Oh, and anime as well. And where can they find you, Lindsay?
You can find me everywhere at L_Ranelle. That's L_RANELLE. And then also on my other podcast, The Ish We Talk. That's me and my cousin. We talk about a variety of things.
Hot topic conversations.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we will be watching Witch
Yes.
next time.
Or the Vavitch. I don't know how people say it. So,
Right. So yeah, so this was episode 34 of Roomies Reviewing Movies, and we will see you guys on episode 35.
yes. And if you subscribe, you won't miss it. So do that.
Yes. Yes. So we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.